Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin.
Hey Kevin, I'm Ralph behind the camera, welcoming you to a momentous episode of Cavalcade of Food.
And today we are baking one bowl applesauce cake. And yes, it is episode number 300 of Cavalcade of Food, Ralph.
Thanks for joining us for this.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I was thinking, so we have been doing this for almost to the date, 10 years. Our first episode went up, I want to say either in May or June of 2011.
I told Kevin, you know what, you love to cook, you've got this camera that your father gave to you for your birthday, why don't we just start filming you cooking?
And so yeah, anyways, it's been just so much has happened in 10 years, and it has taken us 10 years to do 300 episodes. We'll see if we do 300 more. If it takes another 10 years. But
it's been fun, though.
It has been fun, and we've made so many friends, Ralph.
All over the world.
Through the YouTube channel, all over the world. And we just want to thank everybody who in the past decade and 300 episodes have left comments and have shared so many of their own wonderful food memories. And you know what? It really is very touching, and we really appreciate it.
Very neighborly. Feels like a little community that you've all helped us to create.
And it's so funny. Yeah, it just started with a little camera that my dad, who's no longer with us, he gave it to me for my birthday.
Looked like a pack of Virginia Slims.
Yeah, it did. It had little rhinestones on it, and it was just the size of about a pack of cigarettes. I think he bought it on QVC or somewhere, Ralph. And he said, "Oh, I don't know, I thought you might want a video camera." And I thought, okay, thanks, Dad. And I didn't do anything with it for a long time because it was like, well,
what are you going to do?
What
It
are
just
we
sat
gonna
around.
do? And then it's like, here we go. We started filming our food episodes, and the rest, as they say, is history. And you know what? We decided to do a recipe for our 300th episode that in a way embodies the spirit of Cavalcade of Food since the get-go. One, it is something completely homemade, no fuss, and easy.
Right.
Two, it's a vintage recipe. And this recipe goes back 50 years, 60 years.
Of course, we're all about the quality vintage, old-timey stuff.
And three, it's good.
And it's good.
And it's good. And so simple, vintage, good. Those are three of the main points of most of our recipes.
Right. And I wouldn't say we invented comfort food by any means, but
no, we certainly didn't. But we like to celebrate it.
We celebrated it early on and continue to do so after 10 years.
So, Ralph, this is an applesauce cake, and it was promoted by one of the big applesauce companies. And it is just a simple, good, old-fashioned. This to me is a really American cake because, apples is like the American fruit personified, right?
Johnny Appleseed,
apple pie, and all that stuff. And so.
And if it's applesauce, it's got to be moist.
Exactly. And you make it all just in one bowl. That's the other thing. So not a lot of fuss. And by the way, I'm not going to use an electric mixer for this. We can make this sort of really with just using a spoon and spatulas. And here we go. I've got 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour here, Ralph. We're going to put that in the bowl. We're basically going to assemble our dry ingredients, okay?
Looks like you need a big bowl to start with.
And I got a nice big ceramic bowl here. Here's what I've got on the plate. I've got a teaspoon of salt, I've got a teaspoon of cinnamon, and I've got a teaspoon of baking soda. We're going to put all those in. Now, The recipe is always really just cinnamon. If you like your cake a little spicier, you could put in a little ginger, you could put in a little nutmeg, a little clove,
Allspice.
anything in that idea.
Those tend to overpower, though. I like a
Yeah.
good spice cake once in a while, but yeah, I think the idea with this is to keep it.
And we want to taste the applesauce, and we want to taste the molasses. Okay.
Oh, molasses is in it, eh?
Yes. So, all right. So now we've just sort of blended our dry ingredients. All right. Now what I've got is I've got a stick of butter here, Ralph, and I've cubed it up because we're going to cut this in to our dry ingredients. And if you ever have butter in the refrigerator and you need it to be soft or room temperature for a recipe, the more you cut it up, the faster it'll soften up.
Right.
Okay? Because you're exposing more of the surface area to the air.
Okay.
So if you leave the stick just sort of whole, then it'll soften up eventually, but it'll take longer.
And it won't be as even. This makes sure that each cube is evenly the right temperature too.
So I'm going to use a pastry
cutter,
blender, but you could just use your fingers and crumble this in if you wanted to, okay? And we're just going to kind of just smash that butter into our flour mixture. And those of you who make pastry dough, right?
Yeah.
We do this with shortening or butter when we're making a pie crust. But I'm going to just keep going here till I get all this butter just kind of cut into our flour mixture.
You know what's nice is when people comment about how, we celebrate recipes that our grandparents or our parents, our mothers, our fathers made, and if you have any kind of connection to this particular recipe or any other good homemade cake or pie, let us know. Let us know what you've enjoyed about Cavalcade of Food or about this particular recipe if it brings back memories.
Well, what I've always loved too, like you said, Ralph, over the years is hearing from our food friends, but also hearing about the variations. It's like no matter what we've made, families have their own variation, their own tradition,
Their own takes on it.
Yeah, and sometimes the ingredients are a little different, or maybe the preparation method is a little bit different. And it's great to hear that and to see that there are so many ways to sort of do the same thing.
And share some new tips, but they're always made with love.
And love's always the main ingredient. And I've actually learned a lot from our food friends about all kinds of things over the years. And it's like, where did these 10 years go? It's really amazing.
In our stomachs. I think we probably weighed about 10 pounds lighter.
Oh, I think probably even more than that. All right, here we go. Well, we're 10 years older, that's for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got that cut in. So now what I'm going to do is I've got a cup of molasses here. Okay? We're going to put in the molasses.
Is that easy to find?
Yeah, you can get it. It's always in the baking aisle, okay? And it is a byproduct. Molasses is the byproduct of refining sugar. So it is, a derivative of sugar. It comes from that.
Why is it so dark?
Because they have to cook that sugar down, and so the molasses it gets dark. There are lighter syrups that you can buy. The South is wonderful. They have all kinds of different syrups and different molasses, different varieties. So we've got a cup of molasses. I got 1 egg at room temperature, please. And then we can't have an applesauce cake without our applesauce. So I've got 1 cup applesauce here.
Yum. Get every drop.
Going to get it all. Okay.
I love that, like you said, it's all done in one bowl. So
all one bowl.
It should be easy enough
Now,
for our friends to do, and even I could do that.
So let me get a spoon here. I think I'm going to use a wooden spoon because I don't want to chip the porcelain, this wonderful bowl I have.
I can smell that molasses. That has almost like I wouldn't say burnt sugar, but a definite, distinct sugary smell.
Yeah, and molasses, of course, this is going to be dark because the molasses is going to add this wonderful color to it. And, molasses is another one of those ingredients that are just, to me, there's something so American about things with molasses
And
in it.
old-fashioned.
And old-fashioned. Molasses cookies.
I was going to say we used to get these molasses cookies from an Amish bakery that were so good.
So good. So I'm just going to keep stirring. Now you can see the little pieces of butter cut in there, and of course as this cake bakes, that butter's going to melt, and it's going to go right into the batter. I'm going to do a little scrape down here, and then I'm going to keep mixing it. You want to beat this for a couple of minutes by hand. You could fire up your
Mixer?
electric mixer here if you wanted to, but I'm just doing it this way. It's just simple. Sometimes, the one less step.
And you notice he's changing directions because you want to make sure, if you keep going in one direction, you may not notice that some of the flour's not getting integrated or getting wet. So you kind of scrape a little, do a little change directions, chop it.
You want to make sure there's no little pockets
Right.
of flour.
Yeah.
And then finally, Ralph, I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. Now that we're getting near the end.
Always good for baking.
Yep. And we're just going to put a teaspoon of vanilla in there, and I'm going to get that stirred in. Now I have preheated the oven to 350 degrees, and we are going to bake this in a grease and floured 8x8 cake pan, which I prepared. It's right here. Now I use 8x8. I use a baking spray that has the flour and the oil combined.
Right.
If you didn't have that, just grease it and then dust it with flour. Shake out the excess.
You could use something like Crisco or even a spreadable butter.
Yep. Or, vegetable oil would work too. So, all right, I'm going to scrape the spoon. Now, the last thing to add to the batter here, Ralph, is 3/4 of a cup of raisins or currants. I happen to have some currants.
He currently has some currants.
I currently have currants, and here, they are. For those of you who might not be familiar, they are made. They're dried. Currants are really from the grape family, and they're a smaller version. And so I'm going to then a raisin. I'm going to put those in there, and I'll get those stirred in, and then we'll come on back and get this cake in the oven. 1 bowl applesauce cake. Okay, Ralph, I think we're all mixed up.
And like you said, we want to keep it simple, but you could put nuts. I was thinking might be.
Yes, you could. You could. Walnuts would be good in here.
And I like currants. I like raisins, but I think I like walnuts even better.
That would definitely be a direction you could take it.
Oh yeah, I can see those little bits of butter. So that's not a problem because that's going to melt away add extra yumminess.
Yeah, that's the fat and of course the applesauce too does a lot of the work that a fat would do, like oil. Okay, there's no oil. You see, notice we have the butter, but there's no oil in the cake.
No sugar.
No sugar in the cake, other than
of course the molasses is sweet,
but the applesauce is sweet.
Right.
So,
but
I'm gonna get all this out of here.
It's good sometimes to have a dessert too that isn't so sweet that it hurts your teeth.
Well, and the thing about this cake is you can also, if you wanted it a little sweeter, you do so with the topping. Okay, so you can dust it with powdered sugar. You could make a glaze. You could make,
cream
more
cheese
of a frosting for it of some kind if you wanted to.
But start off simple. See if you like it just as it is.
So,
hey, there's a bunch right here on the side you could get.
I see.
Before it
yes,
gets off.
Try to get all. Well, I'm making more of a mess, I think, than I'm. Okay, but you know what? those people who've watched the show for a long time, you know it wouldn't be right if I didn't make a mess. Okay. We're going to give this a little shake, get it evened out. Again, the 51 Kelvinator's at 350 degrees. In it goes. We're going to set the timer for 40 to 45 minutes. I'll put it on 40 and we'll give it a check. So Ralph, I tried it at 40 minutes and it was still not quite done.
Well, because there's so much applesauce. I mean, maybe it's a very wet cake.
It is. But now, toothpick comes out clean.
As a whistle.
We got a nice bounce on the top. So it actually baked for about 55 minutes, almost an hour. And as you can see, it's a very full cake. Filled the whole pan. And the smell in here is just, the whole building just has this wonderful molasses smell. So
the whole kitchen smells
we're going to just
yummy.
let that hang out, cool down, and then we're going to, I think I'll probably just end up maybe giving it a little powdered sugar dusting. This is going to be dessert tonight, Ralph.
Yum. This would be a good April Fool's cake. You could make it and tell people it's chocolate because it looks chocolate.
Oh, it does look
And then when they bite into it, they'll say, this is the most unusual chocolate
There's
I've
nothing
ever
chocolate about this. But anyways, we got to let it cool before we can get into it, but it just smells terrific. So anyways, we'll be back when it's time to taste the one bowl applesauce cake. So here we are, Ralph. We're at home because we had to get home for dinner. And the cake has been cooling for, I don't know, about probably close to 2 hours.
And the dinner gang's ready for dessert.
They are. They're ready and waiting. So we're celebrating our big 300th episode. And you know what? The cake is actually still a little warm on the bottom.
So you sprinkled it with a little
I
powdered
just
sugar?
dusted it with some powdered sugar. Again, you could make a glaze if you wanted to. You could do frosting. I think you mentioned like a cream cheese style frosting. So we're going to cut a piece here, Ralph. And you know, I love when you can smell the molasses.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
It does look like a chocolate cake.
Doesn't it? Totally.
Very
yeah.
much, yeah.
So, but, you know, had nice rise to it. Let's give it a try. I see there's a couple of currants in there this bite. Wow. You know what? This is a real
Takes you back.
old-fashioned flavor. And it's, to me, it's just sweet enough, but you could put whipped cream on here.
Oh, yeah.
You could put some vanilla ice cream on here. And you're going to like it, Ralph, because it's still slightly warm. But you're getting that molasses.
And the currants, it's, yeah, it reminds me of a spice cake that didn't get too spicy.
That's not so spicy cake, yeah.
But it's very old-fashioned. It reminds you of the old, like what you would picture back in the old days when desserts were few and far between and people made do with certain things like molasses and applesauce.
So,
But now that I've tasted it, yeah, at first I was wondering, I wanted to taste it first to see if maybe putting a super sweet frosting on it might be too much, but I think you could take it.
yeah, you could definitely sweeten this up with a frosting or a glaze.
Or like you said, whipped cream and
Ice cream.
but it's hearty. There's something very hearty about it.
It's that molasses.
Yeah.
And I just put the kettle on, so great with a cup of tea or
good.
coffee.
Yes, yes.
So, all right, I'm gonna finish cutting this up and get everybody a piece. But we want to say thank you, as always, for not just being here for this one, but some of you have been here for the 299 ones that came before. So we are very grateful, and we are just so blessed to have made so many friends all over the world through these cooking videos. Ralph, who would have thought 10 years later, we'd still be doing this?
So you out there watching have helped us create a little community of food-loving friends and people who appreciate this. So I'm going to see if I can turn the camera around to give myself a... Wait, how do you do that again?
3 times.
Oh, 3 times.
There it goes.
Here I am to say thank you for being part of it. I've got my COVID beard and my little antenna hat thing going to... but I just wanted to be able to thank you all for being part of Cavalcade of Food, and what makes this very special is your participation and your sharing it and liking it and commenting. So keep that up.
Absolutely. So everyone, stay warm, stay well, enjoy spring. I think it's finally here, at least in Michigan anyways. And you know what? We'll look forward to seeing you again real soon, right here on Cavalcade of Food.
The next 300.
That's right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.